गुड मॉर्निंग फ्रेंड्स। एक बार फिर मैं प्रियेश तिवारी फ्रॉम स्टार्टअप चौपाल हाजिर हूं आप लोगों के सामने एक और एपिसोड लेकर द फाउंडर्स टॉक का। वो सीरीज जहां हम बात करते हैं उन लोगों की, उन लोगों से जिन्होंने तय किया कि एग्जिस्टिंग सिस्टम में अगर कुछ गलत है या कोई प्रॉब्लम है या कोई इशू है तो उसे ठीक किया जाए। उस सिस्टम के बाहर बैठकर उसे क्रिटिसाइज ना करें, बल्कि उस सिस्टम के बाहर रहकर अगर जो हमने कमियां उसकी देखी हैं तो उस सिस्टम के अंदर उतरकर उस सिस्टम को ठीक किया जाए। लेट अस ट्राई एंड फिल दोज गैप्स that are there in that existing system. This entire series is about bringing the stories of these people who have that passion of doing something, of solving a problem in people's life, and creating value for their stakeholders and shareholders in the process. Young and not so young entrepreneurs who have made a mark in their journey are the guests of our sessions every week. And this week, we are here again with a guest who has made a mark for himself in the field of education, a sector that is, I would say, the building block of the nation. Last week, we discussed agriculture, you would remember, with Rajendra ji. And this week, we have yet another young entrepreneur whom who would join us in a moment, and he is doing some grassroots fundamental work in the field of education, and especially in the field of science, technology, and engineering field, and even in computers. Mr. Sharad Bansal, founder and CEO of Tinkerly Labs, is with us today to discuss how he came up with this idea of Tinkerly. What does Tinkerly do? How is the education scenario of India changing? And what would be those key skills and requirements of future for which the kids of today should be ready? And of course, how young entrepreneurs or startup founders should be working in this field. So before rather than taking any of your time now, I would invite our guests to the stream. Welcome, Sharad.
Hey, good morning, Prajesh. Thank you so much. Thank you so much for the warm introduction.
Thank you, Sharad. In fact, I left one of the key aspect of your introduction for this part where you will join, and after that, I'll introduce. So, to the viewers and our friends who are regular listeners and viewers of our channel and subscribers, I would like to tell you that Sharad has been facilitated by Forbes magazine as Education Evangelist of India. So, congratulations, Sharad, on this beautiful recognition that Forbes gave you. And I believe this is a testament of the work that you are doing in this field. Congratulations to you and to the entire Tinkerly team.
Once again, thank you so much. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Okay, so Sharad, as we start discussion and we'll reach Tinkerly in a moment, but before that, we would like to know, or the audience would like to know who Sharad Bansal is. What did he did in school, graduation, and then how has he shaped up over a period of time?
Yeah, definitely. So, I born and brought up in Rajasthan. My father, I come from a family which is into service class. So, yes, it's a Bansal family usually, but it comes from a service class background. He is in a government job, so we traveled at different places. I studied in different schools. Mostly, I studied in Hindi medium schools till my 12th. Then I got into, I mean, usually I was a more academically sound student, so I used to be there. But academically sound definition in the schooling was that you're good in, you can say that you're good in rectification. I think that was the image was there. Then I landed up in IIT Delhi. I prepared for JEE and I landed up in Delhi, so that image improved. So okay, you can do slightly better than rectification.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
That image got improved. Then when I landed up, so at that time I had decided कि बहुत पढ़ाई कर ली life में, अब थोड़ा सा chill करते हैं. So that was the moment where I wanted to expose myself beyond education. I mean beyond academics also. So got the opportunity. I mean till that time I never knew कि क्या entrepreneurship क्या होता है, startups क्या होते हैं. ये प्लान था कि आईआईटी जाते हैं, उसके बाद तो सोचेंगे एमबीए वगैरह कर सकते हैं. But there we got the exposure that we got to work in different extracurricular cells. I was part of dance and dramatics dancing cell of the IT Delhi, and then we got the part of opportunity to be part of entrepreneurship cell there. There we got the first hand introduction to, I mean we used to listen to famous entrepreneurs. तब तक क्योंकि 2012-13 में इतना पॉपुलर भी नहीं था, उस टाइम पे फ्लिपकार्ट वगैरह बन रहे थे, पॉपुलर हो रहे थे, पर इतने ज्यादा स्टार्टअप नहीं थे. ओला वाज गेटिंग पॉपुलर. सो इन आईआईटीज यू गेट टू हियर देम बिकॉज कभी कभी वो आते हैं, यू होस्ट इवेंट्स, यू टॉक टू पीपल. सो दैट एक्सपोजर हेल्प्ड अस कि यार करना है तो कुछ ऐसा करना है. आई मीन लेट्स मेक समथिंग मोर देन व्हाट डिफरेंस कैन क्रिएट. So wahan se I mean personally got good friends. So I met my co-founders Kapil and Om there, and Vivek was also, I mean we are 4 co-founders there. So we met in Delhi. Vivek was working in Delhi at that time, so he went for MBA in Excel and we were studying in second year, third year, getting more exposure. He came back and he said कि मैं job नहीं ले रहा और अपने को कुछ स्टार्टअप करना है. एंड एजुकेशन वाज द फील्ड व्हिच वाज रिलेवेंट, सो विल कम टू दैट. But this is how I shaped up, coming from nowhere and no plans of starting up, but that exposure I got in college, opportunity, and got to talk to right people. I think that gave us a confidence that ये हम कर सकते हैं. And there was a thing where we wanted to devote ourselves. So उसके आगे की journey has been important, but I think वो मैं when you will ask about Tinkle, I'll tell you.
Yeah. I'll come to that. In fact, for our young listeners or viewers, it is very important to note here. Nobody is sure about their life journey. If you at 18, 19, 20, you are not sure, don't worry. But the important thing that you can learn from right now, what Sharad said was to try and experiment with more and more things. Get involved into your college activities, clubs. You don't know, पता नहीं किस चीज में interest आपका develop हो जाए. I mean, Sharad just said that he started with the dancing club of IIT Delhi, then got into entrepreneurship club, and finally he is the founder of Tinkly. So life happens, and opportunities will come, but you'll have to scout for it. Khair.
ये
This
thing है, I
brings
think
up.
छोटी छोटी चीजों से you enhance some skills. So for example, if I say my stage fear got away when I started to get on the stage for dancing. So this is the one thing that I learned from there. At least I have no more stage fear after that. So I think you can learn a lot different things from different activities that you do in different times.
Great. So now this brings us to this question. So how did Tinkerly happen? I mean, how did this idea originated?
Now again, since we reached out to in IIT, what we learned there is that they had a methodology of teaching which called LPT, lecture, practical, and tutorial. So whatever you're learning in lectures, in daily classes in the school, in college, you were able to do the practicals of that within the same day or same week. And then there are tutorials. Now you have all the sort of infrastructure, high end, I mean top of the class infrastructure in these colleges, but you had never been trained of using them. So suddenly a student who has been for 15 years of their education just mugging up or just was on theory, suddenly you tell them to go in the lab and start working and enjoy that. You can't expect them to be. And that is the story of every child who is going from school education. So you can talk about any colleges in Jaipur also. They have all advanced infrastructure available, but how many actually students are able to bring up with patents there? So the problem is not that the students are weaker or the faculties are not that good. The problem is that they have not been having that mindset. They have not been trained that way. So there is a big gap exist between what industry requires for that industry and for the higher education. There has been some collaboration. So they try to update themselves with what industry requires. But this at the school education, schools or the parents are not getting aware ki what higher education requires to be your skills towards. So Tinkerly, then known as Srajna, our goal was to make more hands-on learning accessible to kids. And when you talk about hands-on learning and you related what are the technologies going to be important, we came up on the science, technology, engineering, math, so STEM skills. So there are multiple research which say that 80% of jobs in the next decade are going to be requiring these skills. I mean, you become an engineer or not, but you need to know how to write a program, or how to, so it's something like that. You need to know Excel in these times, right? Even if you are an artist, so you need to know Excel, how to use an Excel. Similarly, in 5 years down the line, even if you are a lawyer, you need to know how to write a program. So these are the basic skill sets which are going to be that common. Tinkerly believes that how we can introduce them at the right age, and they can find genuine interest. Kids can find genuine interest in the right fields before they actually land up.
So I think here I would like to ask you one thing, because right now the entire Indian society and the
Hmm.
parents especially are in a flux that they have started listening to this point again and again. And you also mentioned it, that coding is a very necessary skill. But
Hmm.
general public understand coding as computer का program लिखना in that black screen. That is a general thinking of people कि एक black screen होता है, उसके ऊपर एक छोटे छोटे lines लोग लिखते हैं, that is coding. So how does that becomes important? So what is that core skill or core, let's say, personality trait that coding would help kids to develop? If you can throw some light on that.
No, very interesting question. So, usually there is a difference between. I mean, we take coding and programming as the same common terms. Coding and programming are same, but they are very different. I mean, coding is the first step to actually starting to learn program, starting to create programs. Now, the difference is that what is coding? So, coding is a language. You write something which computer can understand in that language. So the computer's language is machine code that understand your language. So you use C++, Java, or Python, different languages. That is code. But this is something like you are knowing alphabets in English. This is about code. But if you can comprehend that into a letter or an application or a poem, what you can do with that language is your ability. So you can create the right programs, and the programs are relevant to your society. You can solve those problems that are relevant to you. That is the ability that you want to learn. So the way coding has been introduced to child kids at early age, it's not about just writing a program on the thing, but in that overall journey, they start understanding what are the problems around, how to identify and decompose that problem into smaller parts, how to solve them. So coding is just a tool to solve that, and then in that order, you work with teams, so you get collaborative skills. You can be as creative as you can be. You can also be, I mean, in COVID times, we all talked about that how perseverant you are, but how would you develop that? So when a child creates codes, they fail a lot of time. There are a lot of bugs. So finding those bugs, solving that problem again builds that perseverance in the kid's mind. So this is a medium of developing these. A lot of 21st century skills get developed in that process. But I again say that since we are a company that teach coding, but I would say that coding is not the only way, but it's a good way of learning these.
Yeah, I think you brought a very important point here, that coding will help in developing problem solving skills. Coding will
Yeah.
help developing in analytical skills. Coding will help develop them communication skills, team building. I think these are those skills. Other, if the parents who would watch this video, they can go and search on internet, then what are those 21st century skills that are required in kids to succeed? And these
Correct.
are the skills that would be required in people. It would not be mugging up and मॉडल्स बनाना अब नहीं रहेगा हमारा वो कोर स्किल सेट, बल्कि ये स्किल सेट्स होंगे जो ज्यादा काम आएंगे. So
Correct.
let's say I understood that Tinkerly works into coding and STEM education and everything, but let us understand it in terms of customer's perspective. Let's say I have a
Hmm.
12-year-old son. He's in sixth standard. So if I enroll him into any of Tinkerly's programs, what would be the options for him to enroll? And then what would be his journey throughout?
So basically, we divide this journey into two parts. One is that till you find Tinkerly, and then once you have subscribed our course. So the first step is that what kind of kids should actually find Tinkerly. So any child who is looking to have something learning content which can be equally fun, they could be looking for these kind of activities at on internet. That is what they would be looking at. Now, when they find Tinkerly, usually we arrange a trial class, so they can visit a website or can download our application. They can sign up for a trial class where a teacher teaches in the live one-on-one or one-to-many sessions. And alongside, they can access our application. So on Play Store, we have application Let's Tinker. They can download an app, access more than 200 videos are there, which are free of cost available. So it's a freely content on robotics, 3D printing, AI, IoT. They can access it. This is short pieces of content. Now, if they find that this is of their interest, maybe they are more fascinated about machines, they're more fascinated about programs, they're more fascinated about smaller art related activities. So they can find out and they can actually subscribe for a detailed in-depth course. So let's say they subscribe for a course which is relevant to applying coding skills into robotics. So that's the theme of a course, or applying coding into creating AI, artificial intelligence, IoT devices. So more advanced course. So when they subscribe to is, there is a teacher allocated to them, which takes regular, let's say 2 classes per week. And in between, they're supposed to complete the modules which are on self-paced learning. So just like a Coursera curriculum, but in between you are getting live classes. So that's the experience. And through our application, we provide unlimited doubt support. So anytime child has any doubt, you do not have to actually call the teacher and feel hesitant. You can ask and chat, and then you can ask doubts on that application. And once they are completing the course, they become a member of our community. So in beta stage, what our product is building is that any child who is interested towards creating something about STEM, code, robotics, AI, IoT, they can create and share their projects online, and which everyone can see. So their machines, what they've created, the program that they've written, so kind of a Instagram for STEM learners. That's also going to be. So you get inspired with what a child sitting in Odisha is creating. So I am also inspiring. Okay, this is cool. I also want to learn this. So this is a peer learning and peer motivation which is we are trying to bring in. As a our goal is that to keep more organic and more fun oriented, so that we do not have to push and throw some fearful lines on the parents that you have to learn, but actually child goes to the parent and mother that, oh, see, this is how interesting a child in Kerala is creating. I want to learn this, I want to create this. So this is what we at Trinkali are trying to do, and that's going to be the experience.
Great. So, how has been experience till now? I mean, you started Tinkerly, and now it's quite some time, although you're in a very early stage, and you're creating that awareness in the market. So, how has journey been till now, and what kind of problems or issues that you have faced, or some customer story that you would like to share that has really motivated you to go ahead and put more efforts into this thing?
I think this is a very regular activity that you face. I mean, this is a regular thing that you face in any startup. So we started the way we started and the way we are today. This has evolved a lot of times, and a lot of evolutions have happened, and that is going to happen in the future also. So I mean, we in the beginning were having a concept, and we used to go manually to the schools. We started with training the schools and teaching the train teachers that how you can use these tools. We learned that knowledge we impart physically, that doesn't retain for a very long time. So we thought of bringing that in a hard content. When we do hard content, there is an operational challenge that how you distribute and how you maintain, how you ensure that the someone who is supposed to learn, they are learning or not, or they're using that content or not. So we brought the content in digital and started tracking that how much time they're spending on it, or is there any productive learning happening. So if I talk, I mean, the initial 3 years we worked with just around say 30 schools. Now we are at 500 plus a school in 5 years, but initial 3 years we worked only in 330 schools, and that was the time that was our incubation. So many of our clients were also our incubation, and we learned a lot from them. We evolved. But then when we found out that this is the way we can scale from Jaipur to Pan India and then outside, that we figured out. Now, COVID brought us something interesting. So we were always planning to go from schools to student in a subtle way. We wanted to go after certain time. We had plans. We were developing product. We had product, but we wanted to go in a very subtle way. But things changed suddenly. I mean, you never expected that these many number of teachers would be able to use Zoom and learn how to use Zoom. These students would learn how to use Zoom. So things change. We had to modify our plans, and we preponed our plans to go directly for home-based learning. So this was a sudden decision that we had to take, but we were product-wise, we were ready. Capital-wise, there were challenges because we were not planning that to happen in this year. but then things modified, so you have to modify your plan, you have to adjust it based on the condition. So it happens all the time, and I think, Rishi, this is going to happen a lot many times also in the future.
Yeah, I think this is a great thing that happens many a times. In fact, at Startup Chopal also we have faced a lot many changes. Matlab our business models have kept on changing based on the requirement of the time, and the young founders or the startup founders who would watch this video later or who are listening to it right now also, they also need to understand this point from what Sharad said, that in the beginning the growth would always be slow. That is more like a learning time. So like you said, 3 years 30 schools, 2 years 30 schools, and now you have 500 schools
Yeah.
associated with you. So many a times founders under that media pressure and newspapers में जो stories देखते हैं, they suddenly feel that okay, December I'll start my startup, and June I will break it even, and next December so I would be like entering into the unicorn club. But real things take time. All the founders need to understand this. थोड़ा वक्त लगता है चीजों को grow करने में. And of course, when something like Tinkly happens or something like Startup Chopal happens, where you are trying to change the entire ecosystem, then the process is still slower.
Hmm.
So, okay. Now, we understood Tinkly यहाँ तक कैसे पहुंचा and how we have grown. So, what are your plans for next, let's say, 5 years, 10 years? How you plan to grow, and what all new services or things that you would bring in?
Yeah, so first foremost plan is to make these courses and the content affordable. So right now it's like you see the advertisement on local TV, but these are not. If you subscribe for a course on coding on the existing solution, it will put a hard dent on your wallet in most of the population. So first requirement is that to make this affordable. So we are working on uses of technology that how this can be made affordable in a very sense. Second element is the how this becomes vernacular. So people who are not in English medium schools or not able to learn English, they can use this. And the third element is that what is working in India, we are already prototyping this. So how this can be workable outside India as well in certain countries that we are looking into. So that's into beta. I'll share that later. But if I talk to you about 5 years down the line, the goal is that in the K-12 space, I mean in the school-going kids space, we want to be the leading STEM learning provider across the world. That is the small sentence.
Great. I think these two initiatives, first thing of bringing in vernacular languages into the fold, would be a very big thing, and the society would be very thankful to you for this, because over a period of time, our education system has got so obsessed with English that
Hmm.
we have forgotten that the actual market or the actual society talks in their mother tongues, and most of the people are not comfortable with English as the first language of communication. And I think
Correct.
if Tinkly brings that, it will like help a lot of those school kids who are not into those fancy English medium schools, and who also have the talent and they can do wonders if given a chance. So thank you very much for doing this. I mean, best of luck for this effort that Varnak wala section बहुत अच्छे से develop हो, and it will really help kids.
Definitely.
Okay, जब अपन ये बात कर रहे हैं सोसाइटी की, गवर्नमेंट today is also trying to make a lot of changes into the way education is imparted and the way entire this education system runs with the new education policy that they have brought in. So as somebody who is actually working in this field, who is inside the ring, so how do you see, matlab, how do you make sense of this new education policy, that and will it really change the way things are? And the second part that I would like you to throw light on, first is the what government is trying to do and would it really have benefit, and the second is how should kids, students prepare
Mhm.
themselves for this new change or probably the new economy that would emerge out of this entire scenario, please.
I think, I mean, interestingly, many kids have already started doing this, and the government has been late in terms of bringing the policy. So, though this is a policy, the adaptation at child level will not be very challenging. There are certain things that schools have to do. I'll come to that to adapt to these changes. Now, what government at the policy level, at the higher level, what indicates in this policy is that they are now giving more focus onto conceptual learning and understanding. So, from the focus on theory and memory based learning to actually more conceptual and fundamental learning is happening. That's why the distribution has been also of great distribution. Second is that now the weightage has been increased towards co-curricular and extracurricular activities, which was earlier too much onto curricular side. So now there are more optional subjects have been introduced, and at the 6th to 8th grade level, and when they increase that level, they can actually use them as a serious subject. Third is that again I talk about that introduction of coding has been started from grade 6. Now, when I say that government says introduce coding from grade 6, it doesn't mean that it has to be on from the grade 6. Schools, many of the schools are starting to start with this grade 1 also. ये वैसी सी चीज है जैसे इंग्लिश गवर्नमेंट स्कूलों में 6th ग्रेड से पढ़ाते थे और उसके बाद बोलते थे कि why to start there, but many schools were teaching at once. So यही चीज है, but the government has indicated that they are more open towards co-curricular and extracurricular activities, more opportunities, more freedom for kids to choose how they build. सो मैंने आपको शुरुआत में बताई थी मेरी जर्नी कि मैंने 12th तक सिर्फ एकेडमिक फोकस किया और उसके बाद को करिकुलर एक्स्ट्रा करिकुलर देखा. अब वो बच्चे 6th ग्रेड से कर सकते हैं. This is the big change which is happening, because earlier this exposure was available only in the big international schools. Now, since the government has brought this into policy, this can happen in every school from grade 6. Schools have to be more open to accept that from both ends, but now they have full freedom to actually give right exposure. And so kids, I mean, आज के टाइम पे अगर हम ये भी बोलें कि बच्चे आफ्टर गेटिंग हायर एजुकेशन ब्रांचेस किस मोड से चुनते हैं, कैसे वो सेलेक्ट करते हैं ब्रांचेस को, इट बेस्ड ऑन की सबसे अच्छी रैंक वालों ने लास्ट ईयर क्या लिया था, इस साल हम भी वही सबसे अच्छी रैंक में ले लेंगे. यू डोंट इवन नो कि कंप्यूटर साइंस में क्या होता है, इलेक्ट्रॉनिक्स में क्या होता है, या सीए में क्या होगा, एग्जैक्टली डिटेल इन डेप्थ आपको नहीं पता. What has been done in this NEP is that you can get the minor versions of these all subjects from grade 9th onwards, क्योंकि इनके ऑप्शनल सब्जेक्ट्स आ गए आपके पास. इफ यू पिक अप देम यू एक्चुअली नो कि ये मेरे को अच्छा नहीं लगता है एंड दिस इज समथिंग आई लाइक. यू कैन सेव अ लॉट मच टाइम एंड लॉट मोर आई मीन एफर्ट ऑफ योर लाइफ. सो ये कुछ इंपॉर्टेंट एलिमेंट्स हैं, बट अगेन दिस इज अ पॉलिसी, इट्स नॉट एन एक्शन प्लान. एक्शन प्लान इज स्टिल अवेटेड. Government is planning to work on certain elements partly, like they introduced AI curriculum last year from grade 9th onwards. Similarly, इस साल उन्होंने एग्जाम्पलरी स्कूल्स बनाने की बात कही है बजट में 15,000. उसके अंदर भी बिलीव कि एनईपी वुड बी अ हायर फोकस. सो बच्चों के लिए ज्यादा चेंज नहीं होगा, मैनेजमेंट के लिए थोड़ा होगा, बट दे हैव टू एक्सेप्ट इट फ्रॉम बोथ एंड्स. आई थिंक दिस विल बी रियली बेनिफिशियल फॉर किड्स इफ दे एक्सेप्ट इट.
Yeah, I think this would be a very good effort that बच्चों को सभी fields का exposure शुरुआत में ही मिल जाएगा, and they would not be typically confused कि अब क्या choose करें और कैसे choose करेंगे किन fields को. Something that we people faced. That in fact from your age to my age, in our age it was like engineering कर ले या medical कर ले, और उसके अलावा जो कुछ भी करेगा parents were like कि ठीक है third option बचा है ये तो. So today kids can actually decide their own future and create a mix of skills.
Exactly.
So ये जो new education policy है और ये जो changes आ रहे हैं education में, and of course with COVID जहाँ edtech बहुत important हो गया, what would be your suggestion to the young startup founders अब जो probably startups create करने की कोशिश कर रहे हैं या इस field में कुछ काम करने की कोशिश कर रहे हैं, उनके लिए आपका क्या suggestion होगा from your learnings and your past कि उन्हें क्या करना चाहिए, किस तरीके से आगे बढ़ना चाहिए?
So, अगर कोई एजुकेशन स्टार्टअप्स के बारे में सोच रहा है, सो द गुड थिंग अबाउट इंडिया इज कि इंडिया में ये इकलौता एजुकेशन एक ऐसा सेक्टर है, अगर हम देखें कि जहां वेस्ट को रेप्लिकेट नहीं कर रहे, वेस्ट इंडिया को रेप्लिकेट कर रहा है. सो लॉट ऑफ एजुकेशन स्टार्टअप्स आर लीडिंग इन द टॉप 10 लिस्ट इन द वर्ल्ड फ्रॉम इंडिया. So that is one thing, you have the opportunity, and this is not just ki okay, X company has done it or the Y company is also following it. It's because that it brings up so many other opportunities and people look at Indian tech startups with respect कि ये यहाँ से इंडिया से आ रहा है, so I think this is good. This is first step. Now, so you are in the good place if you are thinking about education. Second is that the suddenly masses of teachers, I mean, crores of teachers are now online, but they do not have enough resources in India to teach kids online. Still not enough resources. There have been a lot of startups in this category, but there are enormous opportunity which is working in West when they were online 10 years ago. So this opportunity opens up. So what tools they use, what kind of analytics they can use, what kind of data support they get. So this industry, like right now, what schools uses, I mean, teachers uses dependent on ki kya school ne subscribe kar rakha hai. But I think that can go more granular. Direct to teacher offerings can be created. Thirdly is alternative learning. I think many startups are already coming in. Since coding has emerged as a category, there are further opportunities on arts, on language, on other extracurricular activities, which parents can subscribe online now. So there is more trust about online learning among the parents कि स्कूल जाएगा बच्चा सोशल लर्निंग करेगा स्कूल के बाद अगर मेरे आसपास में कोई अच्छी एकेडमी नहीं है सो आई कैन सब्सक्राइब दैट इनटू एन ऑनलाइन एकेडमी सो एजुकेशन के बारे में अगर मैं बोलूं तो देयर आर लॉट ऑफ अपॉर्चुनिटीज and lot many tech activities new upcoming entrepreneurs can create which can either be used directly by customer or even these companies who have such a large base of customers.
I think these are very good suggestions that startup founders can look into probably. And one problem that startups face or the young founders face is that lack of experience and lack of learning or guidance that they feel. And that is where probably mentorships or incubation programs come in. So, what is your take on this, Matab? How are incubation programs helpful for startups and what should they do? Should they actually enroll for these?
So until you are son of Ambani's or Mittals or Tatas, I think you need to learn it because you are not learning from your womb. So actually, if you are a first generation entrepreneur, especially if you are first generation entrepreneur, anyway you need that guidance. That is the first and foremost thing. That this is must for those. That is must. You can't even have So you need to have an incubation. You need to have a mentor in place, and you need to get that guidance. That is one first thing. Second is that you can be as good as you are in your category. I mean, an entrepreneur can be expert of their field in technology or in sales or in marketing, but even Sachin Tendulkar needs a coach and an academy to become Sachin Tendulkar. So similar way, the whatever good team you are, if you do not have the right mentors or institutions, you will be facing challenges. And every specialty, every industry you see, famous celebrities, famous successful people who have achieved good have their mentors at right in place. And if it is institutionalized, it's a better way to receive it in the beginning year. Uh, we have gone through an incubation system. We have extended the incubation system. We still take mentoring from a lot of our mentors. Third element is that in the beginning years, let's say a lot of people claim that you come from IIT Techs or IIM Techs and they are getting celebrity most of the attention. So I say that incubations bring a lot of credibility in the startups initial years. The tag can be important for some for initial couple of months, but beyond that, for next couple of years, the incubation is the one that is bringing credibility and structures and guidance, and most importantly, it saves a lot of time. So जो गलतियां इंक्यूबेशन की मेंटर्स में उस कैटेगरी में लोगों ने पहले कर रखी होंगी दे कैन मेक श्योर कि आप उनको रिपीट ना करो जो स्ट्रक्चरल एलिमेंट्स ऑर्गेनाइजेशन को बनाने से रिलेटेड लीगल से रिलेटेड जो भी सारी कमियां हैं जो लोगों ने पहले कर दी हैं you get that incubation and I think you save time of your startup life and that time is very important. So time को अपने अप्रोच में मत बचाओ टाइम को एक्सपीरियंस से बचाना दैट इज द राइट की एंड आई थिंक दैट इज वेयर इंक्यूबेशन प्लेज अ वेरी इंपॉर्टेंट रोल स्पेशली जैसे अगर आप जयपुर की बात करें सिंस वी एंड यू बोथ आर इन जयपुर अब जयपुर में स्टार्टअप्स आर कमिंग इन फ्रॉम द जयपुर कॉलेजेस सो अगर फर्स्ट प्रोटोटाइप कहाँ करेंगे वो फर्स्ट प्रोटोटाइप राजस्थान में ही करेंगे जयपुर में करेंगे जयपुर के अंदर वो टीयर 1 क्राउड देखेंगे टीयर 2 देखेंगे टीयर 3 देखेंगे अलग अलग आपको 50 किलोमीटर रेडियस में मिल जाएगा तो अब यहाँ पे जयपुर ने पहले इस चीज को किसी ने किया है क्या हु कैन कनेक्ट यू सो इफ यू कैन फाइंड सम इंक्यूबेशन सेंटर हियर or that is for the offline activities. Second is that if you are looking for any sector specific किसी को education sector से related information है तो so what incubation center can give you that expertise. So I think let's say we are talking about startup Chopal, your portfolio is available on the website Now, if someone is creating a category, they can go on the website of the incubation and see what portfolio they have, what is the profile of the mentors, and what is the profile of the founder, and how much engaged they are, how is their social media pages, what kind of feedback they're getting. So if you look at that, I think the phenomenal kind of portfolio Startup Chopal having. So people can see that what they are getting the feedback from. They can actually approach Startup Chopal to see ki, can I get connected with these startups and know ki kaisa feedback hai. So I think this is where it plays a very important role. Uh, I what I've seen is that usually incubation centers are too common word. हर कॉलेज में आजकल हो गए incubation centers, but थोड़ा सा word dilute हो गया है. What I would like to say is कि this is important for an entrepreneur to see. जैसे बोलते हैं ना कि आपको टीम अच्छी चुननी है, इसी तरह से आपको स्टार्टअप के लिए इंक्यूबेशन भी अच्छा चुनना है. So you have to
Yeah.
put your effort, एंड आपको ये देखना पड़ेगा कि इज इट जस्ट फॉर द नेम से कि बस रिज्यूम अच्छा है या वास्तव में इंस्टीट्यूशन अच्छा है. सो इन दैट वे I think I find and why I like to speak and come and attend activities that Startup Chopal does is because it's not just for the namesake and सिर्फ resume अच्छा नहीं है, you have the talent, so that is
Thank,
important.
thank you, Sharad, very much for this endorsement. And it's always a pleasure to have you on our platform, whether online में हो चाहे अपन physical events में भी मिले हैं पहले, whatever it is, we have been doing this. And at Startup Chopal, this is the same thing that we are trying to build on. That instead of creating a hoopla around everything and creating too much of noise, empty noise around everything, we are trying to bring on that organic structure so that चाहे वो एडटेक हो, फिनटेक हो, एग्री हो या किसी भी और सेक्टर से आने वाला, कंज्यूमर बिजनेस से आने वाला कोई स्टार्टअप हो, हम उसे एक्चुअल मेंटर्स प्रोवाइड करा सकें. एंड ऑफ कोर्स फॉर स्टार्टअप्स इट इज वेरी इंपॉर्टेंट बिकॉज इट्स लाइक दूसरों की गलतियों से सीखने वाली बात है इंक्यूबेशन, कि फिर से हम भी वही गलती करके सीखेंगे 5 साल बाद उसकी जगह किसी दूसरे की गलती से पहले दिन पता होगी ये गलती तो मैंने नहीं करनी है. सो इट्स देयर इज नो नीड टू रीइन्वेंट द व्हील if you are at incubation, enroll in an incubation program. Beharhal, see, it's always lovely talking to you, but I believe you would also have some obligations that you have in the day. So thank you very much, Sharad. Thank you for giving your time to us, talking to us. और आपने जो इतना डिटेल में जो शेयर किए हैं अपने experiences and everything, I believe all the viewers of this video would get benefited from that. So for the viewers, अगर आप लोग टिंकरली के बारे में ज्यादा डिटेल में जानना चाहें तो it's tinker.ly is the website, www.tinker.ly. And for Startup Chopal, you can come to our page, startupchopal.com. We are based out of Jaipur. Tinkerly is also based out of Jaipur. We are also based out of Jaipur. Please feel free to get in touch with us for any of the startup needs that you have. Thank you, Sharad. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, PhD. Thank you for bringing this up and so nicely and curating this and inviting me on this platform. Thank you so much, and it was really a pleasure talking to you and sharing my journey.
Thank you, sir. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, everybody. See you next week with one more guest from one more sector who is making a real difference in their field. Thank you.